You know, Daniel wanted to fight. He's a fighter. He wanted to fight. He said, "I'll be all right." I said, "No, you're not going to be all right." And the father, the same thing. Obviously, we're both in agreement. He's not going to let his son get in the ring who's not well. I'm the coach. I'm not going to allow him. Frank Warren, the promoter. Yeah. So I think it was a good decision. Irrespective, I got a phone call from the father, Stan Dubois. He said, "You better come upstairs because Daniel is not well." Okay, he's not feeling well. So I'm the head coach. I've gone up to Daniel's room. What is the problem? He said, "He's not feeling well." I said, "How bad is it?" He said, "Well, the dad, we called a doctor. We spoke to Frank Warren and they sent a Riyadh doctor who came to examine Daniel."
Charles just pulled back the curtain on the chaos behind Daniel Dubois' shocking exit from the Parker fight, and what he revealed is nothing short of a disaster. Dubois wasn't just worried. He was in full-blown panic mode, dragging Charles upstairs like the situation was life or death, because Daniel was allegedly falling apart. But here's where things get seriously suspicious. Boyce couldn't even give a clear explanation about what was going on, just vague excuses about not feeling well. Then, out of nowhere, Frank Warren rushes in with a doctor to back it up. But let's be clear, this wasn't a health issue. It was pure cowardice. Boyce knew that Parker was going to bring the heat before the fight even began. And instead of manning up and fighting through it, he ran for the hills, choosing self-preservation over honor. But here's the kicker. This time, he can't run. Usyk isn't Parker. Usyk is a ring genius, a technician who will expose every single flaw Duo has. This time, there's no escape. Boyce is going to face the harshest reality check of his career.
And he said there was some reddened inner ears, of infection, whatever. I'm not a doctor. Took blood samples, urine sample. Again, within 20 minutes, he, from his findings, the results, he said, "I recommend that he doesn't fight on Saturday." It's almost like our world had ended when he gave us that, when he said, "I recommend that he doesn't fight on Saturday."
Then Charles didn't hold back. He dropped the bombshell that changes everything. He revealed the shocking moment Daniel Dubois' world came crashing down, and it reeks of pure desperation. The doctor's so-called diagnosis? A bit of redness in the inner ear, maybe an infection. Nothing that screams a fight-ending injury. But within minutes, after a couple of quick tests, the decision was made. Dubois wasn't fighting. Just like that, the highly anticipated Parker showdown was over. Charles described it like the world had ended. But let's be real. Was this actually a medical emergency, or the perfect excuse to dodge a war that Duo wasn't mentally ready for? Boyce saw the storm coming and chose to bail. But now, he's facing Usyk, and there's no running this time. No doctor to pull him out. No more excuses. Just a brutal reckoning that could destroy everything. Will Dubois rise to the challenge, or will Usyk expose him once again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
But Dubois is now expected to chase a rematch with Alexander Usyk, who holds the WBA, WBC, or WBO and Ring World Heavyweight titles. Dubois' dad, Stan Dubois, briefly spoke to the Ring about his son's future plans and what caused him to pull out of his scheduled fight last week with Joseph Parker. He said, "Next we want Usyk. It's frustrating about the Parker fight, but he couldn't fight with an infection. Usyk is who we're going after next."
On the other hand, Stan Dubois, Daniel's father, just ignited a firestorm with his recent comments about the ring and the heavyweight division. The entire boxing world is on edge. He has made it clear that after the disastrous withdrawal from the Joseph Parker fight due to a so-called viral infection, the focus is now squarely on Usyk. Forget Parker. This is bigger. Dubois is now eyeing the biggest fight of his career, a potential showdown with Usyk that could completely reshape the heavyweight landscape. Fans are itching to know if Dubois can bounce back from his loss and prove he's got what it takes to dethrone the undisputed champion. Usyk has ruled the division with an iron fist, but now Dubois has his eyes set on the throne, ready to challenge the champ. Can he rise from the ashes, or will Usyk's reign remain unchallenged? The stakes are enormous, and the heavyweight world is waiting for the answer.
Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. Now, this is the interesting one. Daniel Dubois was meant to fight Joseph Parker 2 weeks ago, but he pulled out due to an illness. And all of a sudden, there's rambling, there's words going around, rumors going around that they already signed a deal. That fight is going to take place likely in June at Wembley Stadium. So again, another one of Turki Al-Sheikh's dream fight, most likely to happen. There's a high chance that fight is going to happen.
Meanwhile, the fight everyone's been talking about is finally taking shape. Usyk versus Dubois. But before you start imagining the fireworks, let's take a step back and really analyze what's been going on behind the scenes. Just 2 weeks ago, Dubois was set to face Joseph Parker, only to pull out citing an illness. Then, out of nowhere, rumors start circulating that Dubois and Usyk already have a deal in place for a showdown, likely happening in June at Wembley. Doesn't that seem just a little too convenient? Dubois backs out of Parker, only to step up and face the number one in the division. Let's call it what it is. This isn't about fighting the best. It's about cherry-picking opponents. Usyk is a final boss, and Dubois is just a stepping stone on Usyk's journey to further greatness. Don't fall for the hype. If this fight goes down, Usyk will dismantle Dubois with his unmatched skill, power, and mental warfare. June at Wembley? Get ready for another Usyk masterclass, leaving Dubois with nothing but regret.
All of a sudden, he wants Usyk. I don't believe he really wanted to fight Joseph Parker in the first place. I think when he beat AJ, it was in his mind already that he wanted Usyk. I don't want that banana peel fight. I might fight somebody and lose, and then I don't get the Usyk fight. And pretty much, this is pussy. This is a bitch-made move. I don't give a fuck.
Moreover, Daniel Dubois has just revealed his true intentions. He was never genuinely interested in facing Joseph Parker. After barely getting past AJ, Dubois didn't set his sights on proving his worth in the ring. He was laser-focused on Usyk and the massive payday that awaited him. Parker? Too dangerous. Too much of a risk for a fighter who's not ready to face the heat. A loss to Parker could have shattered his carefully constructed hype.so. What does Dubois do? He pulls out with a slew of excuses, fully aware that Parker would have exposed his flaws and destroyed his illusion of invincibility. But now, suddenly, he believes he's ready for Usyk. Let's be real. This isn't about proving who's truly the best. It's about safeguarding his fragile ego and padding his bank account. If Dubois truly had the confidence, he would have taken the real challenge, fought Parker, and owned his place. Instead, he's dodging the hard fights and looking for an easy route to greatness. Is he a legitimate contender, or just another overhyped fighter avoiding real threats?
Should it be Dubois or Usyk? Why don't they step up and let him fight? But listen, I don't pay the money. It's not my, it's if they want that. But I don't like that. I think it's wrong. I think Joe should be given he'll get a fight. He'll get a fight.
Moreover, Daniel Dubois has just revealed his true intentions. He was never genuinely interested in facing Joseph Parker. After barely getting past AJ, Dubois didn't set his sights on proving his worth in the ring. He was laser-focused on Usyk and the massive payday that awaited him. Parker? Too dangerous. Too much of a risk for a fighter who's not ready to face the heat. A loss to Parker could have shattered his carefully constructed hype.so. What does Dubois do? He pulls out with a slew of excuses, fully aware that Parker would have exposed his flaws and destroyed his illusion of invincibility. But now, suddenly, he believes he's ready for Usyk. Let's be real. This isn't about proving who's truly the best. It's about safeguarding his fragile ego and padding his bank account. If Dubois truly had the confidence, he would have taken the real challenge, fought Parker, and owned his place. Instead, he's dodging the hard fights and looking for an easy route to greatness. Is he a legitimate contender, or just another overhyped fighter avoiding real threats?
Dubois do it second time against
No.
Usyk? He gets outboxed, yeah?
He gets outboxed again.
Does he get stopped?
Quite potentially, sure. Nobody's beaten Alexander Usyk. You know, I don't want to make it sound too cliche, but for me, where heavyweight boxing is concerned, he's head and shoulders. He's Premier League and everybody else's first division. As much as I like Dubois, and Dubois is improving all the time, still not got what it takes in my eyes to beat Usyk.
Duke McKenzie didn't hesitate. He came out swinging with his brutal assessment of Daniel Dubois' chances against Alexander Usyk. Dubois is walking straight into another disaster if he steps into the ring with Usyk. The reality is harsh. Dubois will get outboxed, outclassed, and this time, he might not even make it to the final bell. Usyk is in a league of his own, Premier League quality, while Dubois and the rest are still stuck in the first division. Some argue Dubois is improving, but improvement isn't enough when you're facing a master technician like Usyk. He's already been humbled once, and nothing suggests the rematch will be any different. A puncher's chance? Sure, but when has raw power ever beaten pure skill at this level? If Dubois thinks he can bulldoze Usyk, he's in for a painful reality check. So, what do you think? Can Dubois pull off the impossible, or is Usyk simply untouchable?
Confidence from that first fight.
Definitely, and Dubois is a different animal to who he was 18 months ago. I was sparring him about 18 months ago, 2 years ago now, and he's come on leaps and bounds since then. Through fighting Jarrell Miller, through fighting Hrgovic, and obviously the camps for Joe Parker, they'll all be in the bank, and I'll be backing him. I think he could be the favourite going into that fight, I really do.
On the other hand, Johnny Fisher's unwavering belief in Dubois' so-called transformation reeks of wishful thinking. Evolution? Let's be honest. Dubois has been thrown into the deep end, and instead of emerging as a predator, he's struggling just to stay afloat. Fisher talks about sparring sessions from 18 months ago, but that's irrelevant when the truth is that Dubois has failed to shine on the big stage. Sure, names like Jarrell Miller and Hrgovic look decent on paper, but when it truly mattered, against elite fighters like Joe Parker, Dubois was exposed till they met. Usyk toyed with him before finishing him off with ease. So, has Dubois really transformed, or is this just another overhyped narrative to prop up a fighter who's already shown his limitations? The answer is clear, but some refuse to face the hard truth.
Who do you think wins between Dubois and Usyk?
Probably Usyk. I think you'd be foolish to bet against him. I think Dubois made a lot of improvements under Don Charles. I think it's a tougher fight for Usyk, but I think, he's proved himself to be an all-time great. And although Dubois might be able to put him under a bit more pressure now, I still think Usyk will be able to outthink him and get the result.
Meanwhile, Nick Campbell isn't holding back on his thoughts about the heavyweight division and is definitely not buying into the Dubois hype. Campbell is all in on Usyk, but isn't shy about calling out Dubois, predicting a brutal reality check if the two ever clash. Let's be real, Dubois has barely scraped through his past fights. He folded under the pressure against Joyce and couldn't handle the heat against Parker. Now, suddenly, he's supposed to be a legitimate threat to Usyk? It's almost laughable. Usyk is a tactical mastermind, a ring general who makes opponents look foolish. Dubois might have raw power, but against a fighter as calculated as Usyk, that's just a pipe dream. Campbell isn't sugarcoating it. If Usyk and Dubois meet, it'll be a one-sided demolition where Usyk shows just how far out of his league Dubois truly is. This is a mismatch, plain and simple. Like, comment, and subscribe for more brutal takes on the heavyweight division. Let us know your thoughts. Can Dubois defy the odds, or will Usyk prove he's in a league of his own?